In the depths of the cosmos, the fates weave threads of gold and crimson, whispering of a war that will reshape kingdoms and decide the fate of gods and men alike. At a lavish wedding among the Olympian gods, one uninvited guest, the goddess of discord, Eris, casts a golden apple marked "For the Fairest." The banquet erupts in tension as Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite claim it. This single apple will ignite 1,000 ships and stain the earth with heroes' blood.
On Mount Ida, Paris, a shepherd prince of Troy, faces the three goddesses. Each promises him a gift. Hera offers dominion, Athena offers wisdom and victory, and Aphrodite promises the most beautiful woman alive. Paris, blinded by desire, places the apple into Aphrodite's hand, sealing Troy's doom.
In faraway Sparta, Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world, lives with her husband, King Menelaus. Yet in her heart, she longs for something beyond duty. The gods stir restlessness within her soul, preparing her to be swept away into destiny's embrace. Aphrodite guides Paris across the seas to Sparta. There, he meets Helen, and passion blooms. Despite warnings, she yields to the prince's charm, and together they flee to Troy, leaving betrayal and rage in their wake.
Menelaus awakens to find his wife gone. His fury shakes the halls of Sparta. He calls upon his brother, Agamemnon, king of Mycenae, and together they summon all of Greece's greatest warriors to retrieve Helen. The oath sworn long ago by her suitors now binds them all to war. On Ithaca, Odysseus, clever king, feigns madness to escape war. Yet the summons is unavoidable. The Greeks drag him from his plowed fields, and he reluctantly agrees to join, knowing his fate is tied to Troy's downfall. Farther north, the sea goddess Thetis hides her son Achilles in the court of Skyros, disguised among maidens. But the Greek envoys uncover him, and the greatest warrior of Greece dons his armor, ready for eternal glory. At Aulis, the Greek fleet gathers. 1,000 ships stretch across the horizon, banners fluttering, warriors chanting. But the winds do not blow, and Agamemnon must appease the goddess Artemis for safe passage. Agamemnon lures his daughter Iphigenia with false promises of marriage, only to sacrifice her to Artemis. Her cry pierces the heavens, and the winds shift at last. The fleet sails for Troy under a blood-red sunset. The Greek armada lands on Troy's golden sands. The Trojans rush to meet them, and the first clash of bronze shatters the dawn. Spears fly, shields crash, and the war that will last 10 years begins in fire. To avoid endless slaughter, Paris and Menelaus duel for Helen. Paris falters, but Aphrodite rescues him in a mist. Menelaus roars in outrage as the war resumes with greater fury. Achilles storms through the battlefield like a lion among lambs, cutting down Trojan warriors by the dozen. His name spreads like wildfire, striking terror in every heart. From Troy's gates emerges Hector, noble prince and warrior, beloved by his people. He faces the Greeks with calm resolve, knowing the burden of his city rests upon his shoulders. The Olympians themselves take sides. Athena, Hera, and Poseidon favor the Greeks, while Aphrodite, Ares, and Apollo shield the Trojans. The battlefield becomes an arena of both men and gods.
The Greeks build their camp along Troy's shore, raising wooden walls and watchtowers. For 9 long years the war drags on, raids, skirmishes, and sorrow shaping both sides as neither can claim victory.
Tension brews in the Greek camp. Agamemnon insults Achilles, seizing the maiden Briseis from him as a prize. Pride wounded, Achilles withdraws from battle, vowing not to fight again until the Greeks beg for him. Without Achilles, the Greeks falter. Hector leads relentless Trojan assaults, driving the Greeks back to their ships. Fires threaten to consume their fleet, and despair grips the army. Agamemnon sends envoys, Odysseus, Ajax, and Phoenix, to beg Achilles' return. They offer riches, honor, even Briseis restored. But Achilles refuses, his wrath burning brighter than gold. Patroclus, dearest companion of Achilles, cannot bear to see the Greeks slaughtered. He begs to wear Achilles' armor and lead the Myrmidons to battle. Reluctantly, Achilles agrees, warning him not to chase glory too far. The Myrmidons thunder into battle, their war cries echoing across the plain. In Achilles' armor, Patroclus blazes like the hero himself, scattering Trojans in terror. For a moment, hope returns to the Greeks. Patroclus meets Sarpedon, son of Zeus, in single combat. The two clash fiercely, but Patroclus strikes him down. Zeus mourns, yet cannot save his son. The heavens darken as divine tears fall upon the battlefield. Patroclus, carried by victory, forgets Achilles' warning and presses against Troy's gates. There, Hector confronts him. With a fatal blow, Hector ends his life, believing he has slain Achilles himself. When word reaches Achilles, his grief turns to unbearable fury. He cradles Patroclus's lifeless body, swearing vengeance against Hector and all who stand with him. His roar shakes the sea and sky. Thetis, Achilles' mother, begs Hephaestus, god of the forge, to craft new armor for her son. In fire and flame, the god hammers out a shield depicting the cosmos itself, a masterpiece fit for the greatest hero. Achilles dons the divine armor, a blazing figure of wrath and destiny. His warriors gather, their spirits reignited. Even the Trojans tremble, sensing doom at his return. Achilles storms the battlefield, unstoppable, cutting down Trojans in droves. He drives them into the river Scamander, choking it with bodies until even the river god rises against him in fury. The gods intervene, pulling Achilles from the raging river. On Troy's plain, the Greeks and Trojans pause as Hector steps forward, knowing he must face Achilles in single combat to defend his city. Inside Troy's walls, Hector embraces his wife Andromache and their infant son. He knows he will not return. His farewell is tender, filled with both love and resignation. The two champions clash beneath Troy's walls, bronze against bronze, fury against resolve. After a long struggle, Achilles strikes Hector down, his rage unquenchable. Troy wails as its greatest defender falls. Achilles, blinded by rage, ties Hector's body to his chariot and drags it around Troy's walls. The Trojans scream in grief, while Priam, Hector's father, watches in helpless agony. Guided by Hermes, old King Priam slips into the Greek camp by night. Entering Achilles' tent, he falls to his knees, kissing the hand that slew his son. He begs for Hector's body, humbling himself with words that pierce even Achilles' wrathful heart.
Achilles, moved by Priam's plea, returns Hector's body. The Trojans weep and wail as Hector is carried home, garlanded with flowers, while Andromache and Hecuba cry out in grief. A moment of fragile peace falls over the war. The Greeks honor Patroclus with funeral rites. Flames leap high as Achilles cuts his hair in mourning. Warriors circle the pyre, their chants echoing into the night as the smoke rises to the stars. In Patroclus's honor, Achilles hosts funeral games, chariot races, boxing, wrestling, and archery. Heroes compete fiercely, their rivalries sharpening even in mourning, yet bound by the code of honor. The war stretches on. Skirmishes, ambushes, and nightly raids drain both sides. The walls of Troy remain unbroken, and the Greeks, weary of endless bloodshed, wonder if the gods have doomed them to fight forever. Penthesilea, queen of the Amazons, arrives with her fierce warrior women to aid Troy. Their beauty is matched only by their savagery. They ride into battle with blazing eyes and spears that flash like lightning. On the battlefield, Achilles meets Penthesilea. Their combat is fierce, her spear striking like fire. Yet Achilles' strength prevails, and he pierces her heart. As she falls, he gazes at her beauty, struck with sudden, tragic sorrow. Memnon, son of the dawn goddess Eos, comes from Ethiopia with a mighty army to defend Troy. Tall and radiant, he moves like a demigod, his armor gleaming with the colors of sunrise. Achilles and Memnon clash in a battle of titans. Their spears ring like thunder, their shields splinter. Achilles strikes the final blow, felling Memnon as his mother Eos weeps crimson tears across the sky. The fates whisper that Achilles' death is near. Though invincible in battle, his life will end by Troy's walls. Yet Achilles, burning with wrath and glory, embraces his destiny, knowing eternal fame awaits him. Paris, guided by Apollo, looses an arrow that strikes Achilles in his only vulnerable spot, his heel. The hero falls, the battlefield trembling as though the earth itself mourns. His cry echoes as the Greeks rush to him, knowing their brightest flame has been extinguished. The sea goddess Thetis rises from the waves to cradle her son's body. She laments with a grief so deep the oceans tremble. The Greeks prepare funeral rites, while the Trojans celebrate their enemy's fall with cautious relief. A towering pyre is built for Achilles. His armor glimmers in the firelight as songs of lament fill the night. The Greeks honor him with sacrifices, and his ashes are placed beside Patroclus, uniting them for eternity. Achilles' divine armor, forged by Hephaestus, must be awarded to the next greatest Greek. Ajax, the mighty warrior, and Odysseus, the cunning strategist, both lay claim. The council gathers, and the decision will shatter brotherhood. The Greeks choose Odysseus, praising his wit and cunning. Ajax, humiliated, is consumed with madness. Believing he slays his rivals, he instead butchers cattle in delusion. When he awakens to shame, he takes his own life with his sword. Despair grips the Greek camp. They consult the seer Calchas,
who declares Troy cannot fall until they possess the bow and arrows of Heracles, kept by the abandoned warrior Philoctetes on the Isle of Lemnos. Odysseus and Diomedes sailed to Lemnos, where they find Philoctetes wounded and bitter from abandonment. Yet with persuasion, they convince him to return with Heracles' bow, a weapon destined to bring Troy's doom. With Heracles' bow, Philoctetes joins the war. His arrow finds Paris, who collapses, mortally wounded. The man whose desire began the war now dies, and Troy mourns its prince, even as Helen's fate grows uncertain. Knowing Troy's walls cannot be breached, Odysseus devises a cunning plan. A vast wooden horse, hollow and filled with warriors, to be left as a deceptive gift. The Greeks prepare their greatest trick under the cover of night. The Greeks feign retreat, burning their camp and sailing away, leaving only the massive horse on the shore. From Troy's walls, the Trojans cheer in victory, believing the enemy has finally abandoned the war. At dawn, Trojans gather around the colossal wooden horse. Some marvel at its craftsmanship, others suspect trickery. The people argue, should they burn it, drag it into the city, or leave it to rot? Cassandra, cursed with true prophecy no one believes, cries out that the horse will bring ruin. She begs the people to destroy it, her voice desperate, but her words fall on deaf ears. Laocoon, the Trojan priest, hurls his spear at the horse, declaring, "Beware of Greeks bearing gifts." The wood groans ominously, but the people ignore the sound, choosing instead to celebrate victory. As punishment for doubting, two monstrous sea serpents rise from the waves, crushing Laocoon and his sons in their coils. The Trojans take this as a divine sign that the horse is sacred and must be honored. With chants and celebration, the Trojans drag the wooden horse through their gates. Flowers and garlands are laid upon it as music and feasting erupt in the streets. Victory seems certain at last. That night, the Trojans feast, drinking wine and singing of their triumph. Fires burn bright, and the streets resound with joy. Few notice the watchful stars above, or the hidden danger slumbering within the horse. Midnight descends, and the city grows quiet. Drunken warriors collapse in sleep. The fires die down, and shadows lengthen. Only the great horse stands awake in the silent square, a dark sentinel. At last, a hidden trapdoor in the horse creaks open. Odysseus, Menelaus, Diomedes, and other warriors descend silently. Their blades glint in the moonlight as they spread like shadows through the sleeping city. The hidden warriors open the gates and light torches upon the walls. Far at sea, the Greek fleet, long hidden, returns under the cover of darkness. The trap has been sprung, and doom rides in with the tide. The Greeks pour into the city, slaughtering in fury. Troy burns, its towers collapsing in fire and smoke. Cries of terror echo through the night as the proud city falls to ruin, consumed by war's merciless hand. In the chaos, old King Priam flees to the temple of Zeus, but Neoptolemus, son of Achilles, finds him and slays him before the altar. The last breath of Troy's king rises among shattered statues and fallen prayers. Cassandra clings to the statue of Athena, seeking sanctuary, but Ajax the Lesser drags her away, defiling the sacred temple. The gods turn their gaze in anger, sealing Ajax's fate upon the sea. Andromache, widow of Hector, clutches her young son Astyanax as Greek soldiers storm her home. Her cries pierce the night, knowing her child will not be spared by her husband's enemies. Odysseus orders the unthinkable. Hector's infant son is hurled from the walls to prevent Troy's bloodline from rising again. The people wail as the child's death seals the cruelty of conquest. Queen Hecuba, once proud, is dragged in chains, her hair torn, her heart shattered by the loss of her husband and children. The Greeks claim her as a slave, a queen reduced to dust and sorrow. Menelaus finds Helen among the ruins. Sword raised, he is ready to kill her for her betrayal. Yet when she lifts her face, her beauty disarms him once more. Instead of death, she is taken back to Sparta. On Achilles' tomb, the Greeks sacrifice Polyxena, daughter of Priam, as a final offering to the ghost of their fallen hero. Her noble courage in facing death moves even her enemies to silence. Guided by the gods, Aeneas carries his father Anchises on his back, leading his family through fire and ruin. He is destined to survive, to carry Troy's bloodline across the sea and sow the seeds of a new empire. At last the Greeks depart, their ships heavy with plunder and captives. But the gods are not finished with them. Storms and curses follow them across the sea, for sacrilege and cruelty bring no true victory. The once great city of Troy lies in silence. Its towers are broken, its temples blackened, its streets filled with ash. The wind whispers only of ghosts and glory lost. The war has ended, but the sorrow endures forever. The Greeks set sail, but the gods are furious for the desecration of temples. Storms break upon their fleets, scattering them across the seas. Thunder, lightning, and monstrous waves strike without mercy. Ajax the Lesser, who defiled Cassandra, clings to a rock in the raging sea. Poseidon splits the stone beneath him, and the waves drag him into the abyss. His arrogance finds its final punishment. Unlike others, wise Nestor sails safely home, untouched by divine wrath. His age and piety shield him, and he finds his family waiting with joy. His story becomes a rare tale of peace. Menelaus is blown off course to Egypt, where he wanders for years before finding passage home. Helen walks by his side, her beauty haunting him as much as it once haunted Troy. Agamemnon returns to Mycenae in triumph, but his wife, Clytemnestra, awaits him with fury for sacrificing their daughter, Iphigenia. As he steps into his bath, she slays him with a blade, ending his bloody reign. Years later, Orestes, son of Agamemnon, avenges his father by killing Clytemnestra. His hands are stained with blood, his soul tormented by guilt, as the curse of the house of Atreus lives on. Diomedes, once a hero of Troy, finds his people turning against him. He sails to Italy, where new lands await, but his name is forever haunted by the war he waged. Odysseus, cursed by Poseidon, begins his long, fated journey. His ship is blown toward strange islands filled with monsters, temptresses, and trials that will test his wit and endurance for 10 long years. On stormy nights, Greek sailors claim to see visions of Troy's fallen.
Hector, Priam, and the countless dead rising from the waves to curse their conquerors. The sea itself seems haunted. Far away, Aeneas sails toward Italy, guided by the will of the gods. His destiny is to found a new city that will one day rise as Rome. From Troy's ashes, a new world is born. Odysseus's men reach a lush island where the lotus grows. Those who taste it fall into dreamy forgetfulness, longing never to leave. Odysseus drags them back to the ship, knowing the journey must go on. On a rocky island, Odysseus and his men enter the cave of Polyphemus, a monstrous one-eyed giant. They feast on his stores, only to be trapped when the Cyclops returns, sealing the entrance with a boulder. Odysseus sharpens a great stake, heating it in the fire. With his men, he drives it into Polyphemus's single eye, while the giant screams in agony, shaking the earth with his cries. The blinded giant feels for the men as they flee, but Odysseus ties them beneath sheep. At dawn, they slip away unnoticed, sailing into the sea, while Polyphemus curses their names. Aeolus, keeper of the winds, gives Odysseus a bag containing all but the west wind. Near Ithaca, his curious men open it, unleashing storms that drive them far from home once more. The sorceress Circe transforms Odysseus's men into swine with her enchanted cup. With Hermes' aid, Odysseus resists her spell and forces her to restore them. For a year, they linger in her bewitching halls. To find the way home, Odysseus sails to the edge of the world and descends into Hades. There, he speaks with the prophet Tiresias, who warns him of trials yet to come. Odysseus plugs his men's ears with wax and ties himself to the mast. The ship sails past the sirens, whose haunting song promises forbidden knowledge. Odysseus strains against the ropes, desperate to listen. The ship sails through a narrow strait. On one side, Scylla, a six-headed monster, snatches men from the deck. On the other, Charybdis swallows the sea in a deadly whirlpool. Few survive. On Thrinacia, Odysseus's starving men slaughter the sacred cattle of Helios despite his warnings. The gods punish them with storms, and Zeus's thunderbolt shatters their ship. Only Odysseus survives. Washed ashore on Ogygia, Odysseus is taken in by the nymph Calypso. She offers him immortality if he will stay, but though her beauty is divine, his heart longs only for home. Years later, Odysseus tells his son of Troy, the horse, the burning city, the heroes lost. The war is gone, yet its shadow lingers in every tale, in every heart. The gods are silent, but the memory endures forever. At last, the gods command Calypso to release him. She builds him a raft, but Poseidon, still vengeful, sends storms to break it apart. Only by Athena's aid does Odysseus survive once more. Exhausted, Odysseus is found by Nausicaa, a princess of the Phaeacians. She leads him to her father's court, where he is honored as a guest and finally offered passage home. Among the Phaeacians, Odysseus recounts his long journey, the Cyclops, Circe, the Sirens, the underworld. The hall falls silent, every heart caught in the spell of his sorrowful tale. The Phaeacians sail him at last to Ithaca. Disguised as a beggar,
He walks unseen through the halls of his home, watching the suitors who consume his wealth and mock his name. Penelope weaves by day and unravels by night, delaying her choice of a new husband. Her patience, her quiet strength, has preserved her home as surely as Odysseus's sword preserved his life. Penelope declares a contest. Whoever can string Odysseus's bow and shoot an arrow through 12 axe heads shall be her husband. The suitors all fail until the beggar steps forward. Revealed at last, Odysseus looses his arrows. One by one, the suitors fall in terror as he and Telemachus reclaim the hall in blood and fire. Justice thunders louder than the gods themselves. At last, Penelope and Odysseus meet. She tests him with secret knowledge of their bed carved from living oak. Only he knows the truth. Tears of recognition flow, and love endures.